Are you ready? Okay, this is my Irish countryside. I love it. Join me, let's go. This is kind of just a rough skyline, dividing the sky from the earth. Just kind of a rough, we want to dip in here because we're going to bring our sun over there. But it doesn't have to be exact. We can change it later. We just want to know where we're putting our sky. Okay, now that we have a sky, it's about a fourth of the way up. It's just got a long curve with a dip on the far left side. I'm going to take a little bit of yellow and we're going to start making a sunshine. A happy yellow sunshine. Ah, that's perfect. Nothing fancy. I'm going to go back over with some white, adding to that happy yellow sunshine, just giving it some depth. Notice how I didn't finish the bottom of my sunshine? That's because I'm going to be bringing in clouds. Okay, now let's mix, let's create like some sun rays. So I'm going to mix a butter yellow is what I call it, but it's yellow and white. And we'll just kind of go away from that sun. All the way away. Lift this up here. Nice, nothing crazy. When you reach the top, go around the canvas. There we go. And this sky blue, I'm gonna err on the teal side a little bit. So I'm gonna take my blue, I already have yellow on my brush. I'm gonna mix some white in there. So the best blue is the blue you like. Then I'm just gonna kind of fill it around, kind of going up to the sunshine. I'm not worried about actual sunshine perfect lines because that'll just look a little too cartoony. We just want to come up to the sunshine, let it overlap and overlay. And then over on this side, and I'll bring some blue all the way across on the top. Okay, now the clouds. I love these clouds. The first thing we need to do is mix kind of a beautiful purple. So I can use my blue. I'm going to take more blue on there, add some red. And we are starting with a darker purple, but I wouldn't say it's dark. I also want it to be a little bit more on the pink side. So that means more red than blue. And honestly, the purple you like is the correct purple, okay? So here's a purple. Do I like it? I'm gonna add a little bit more red. Just play around with it until you love it. My purple, I'm gonna start at the top of the hills. So at the top of the hills, I just kind of want to fill that in. This is going to be all wispy, wispy, filled in with clouds, just like this. Don't overmix your lines. Let them flow. Awesome. Okay, now I'm going to mix in a little bit more white into that purple. There you go. And without mixing it all the way, I want layers. We're going to let our clouds get a little bit lighter. Just a little bit lighter. Hopefully you can see these lines. Oh, so pretty. All the way across, because that's where these clouds are. Okay, we got some variety. Now we need to give them the cloud shape. So I'm going to start bringing in more pink, which means mixing red in. And now we're going to think of that like cumulus cloud where it's like fluffy on top. So we could start, and I'm going to start at the back. You can start anywhere. But we're going to start with a huge kind of cumulus cloud shape. And then I'll bring in some more white. So just layering it all together. And I'll get a little bit more. And I'll add some more. And then let me bring in some more purple. I don't want to lose the bottom there. So the idea with these clouds is just kind of adding layers on top of each other. There we go. I love that. Okay, I'm going to bring in a little bit more. I want a variety of purples in these clouds. So now that I have the cumulus, I'm going to bring back a little bit of the wisping underneath. Round and up. Okay. Nice. Okay, going back to some pink, and we'll create another like whoosh. That's our official word now, whoosh, whoosh. And then we're gonna get really light over here. I'm gonna add in some more white, kind of filling up these clouds. And I wanna make sure I'm not getting mathy, so I don't want every poof to look the same. want them to all be just a little bit different. I'm gonna add some more white. Now we're getting close to the sun, so I'm gonna start adding some yellow. Yellow and pink will make like a nice coral. Yellow and purple will bring you towards brown. We're mixing more on the pink side of your plate and not so much on the purple. There we go. So bring in a little bit of that color, this coral color. There we go. Let's get some white. Okay, I love this. We have our first layer of cloud. Let's let the first layer of our clouds dry. And while we do that, we can start working on our hills, okay? So I'm just gonna grab a new plate because I got this all full of purple pink, and I definitely need space to mix green. So here's an example of something that's like at least 3/4 yellow with a little bit of blue. I do want to bring in kind of a dark blue color that will like serve as shadow. So to make my blue darker, I'm actually going to add a tiny bit of red to it. So it's in the purple family. So now I have like this darker blue and I have this beautiful green, and let's start attacking one hill at a time. So we're going to start over here in the background. You can ignore your clouds for now, and your sun is over here. So whatever's this side, the side that's away from the sun, is going to be darker. So I'm going to take that dark blue, just kind of create a hill right here. Nice, just like that. Then I'm going to wipe that brush kind of dry, and I'll take this color, and then we'll just color in this side of the hill. Let it meet in the middle. And notice how, look at that, we have a 3-dimensional hill. We'll do roughly the same thing all the way down with all our hills. They're just gonna get a little bit lighter. So let's try that again. Let's pick up, we can put our hills anywhere we want. Let's start our hill over here. So this side, now it's the opposite side that's away from the sun. It's just that darker blue-green. That has a touch of purple in it. And then I'll bring. Okay, now I'm gonna bring in another hill right here, but it's gonna be a little bit lighter because it's closer to the sun. So I'll get that darker part again, and we'll just add kind of the rolling hill on this side, that shadow. And then I'm gonna mix in quite a bit of yellow. In fact, I'm taking my green brush right at the yellow, and I'm gonna bring it in here. Now that's gonna mix a tiny bit with any wet purple that's at the bottom. Don't worry, we'll layer it up. Nice. I just added some white to my plate. So let's review the plate. I have the dark blue that added a little bit of red. I have the green. I added a big blob of yellow, and I added a little blob of white. So I'm gonna go back to my blue. I wanna create some little hills right here. I want these hills to kind of hug the blue family. So here's a little hill, and I'm just gonna bring in some white instead of green this time. If your paint is not mixing well, you might have too much paint on your brush. Go ahead and wipe it off. There we go, kind of a lighter blue hill. Nice. And I'll do the same thing. Let's just do another one right in front of it. Just overlapping. Here's the dark part. And I'll go for white. There we go. Oh, I like that hill. Okay, I want to add a little bit of interest to these hills. So I'm just going to bring in kind of a dark side on the front. Just a little dark blue down the front. Let's look over here before we move on. Let's make a little valley. So I can take my blue and we'll make a little valley over here. And I'm going to add some of that white for that little valley. There we go. We'll add some trees to that later. Got a little bit of blue in that valley. There we go, that's interesting. I'm going to start a big hill here. I'm going to start with yellow on the top because I really want to pick up the sun ray. So I'm going for flat, straight yellow, and I'm going to define that hill all the way across. Now I notice I have space over here. That wasn't enough. So I'm going to go ahead and take some of my deep dark blues and just create another valley down in there. There we go. All right, so same thing, just adding a second layer. Just layering up my yellow. Okay, we'll build on that. Let's work on our valley over here. So we have some blues, we have some whites. I'm going to bring in a little bit of green. There we go, just to keep it interesting. And then let's go back to that yellow on our brush. I'm going to finish off this one right here because it's closest to the sun. And I'm going to bring it down so it goes right in front of that valley. So just kind of layering some yellow. I'm not trying to cover it completely. Just kind of brushing that in. I'm noticing that this yellow needs a little bit of a chance to dry. While it's doing that, let's come over here and poke one more little tiny hill. I'm going to go again with that yellow because it's so close to the sun. And I'm just going to create a little hill over here on top of that valley. And to do that, I'm just bringing in that yellow and then just blending it down into the green. One more layer of yellow over here, just so that the top of the hill can shine against that sun. And then we're going to start getting a little bit darker as we curve away from the sun. I'm going to bring in some of that green, and we'll just kind of mix it up down here. There we go. Embrace the variation. If something turns a little darker than you want, a little lighter than you want, you can always change it and you can embrace it. Okay, I'm going to go for my dark color again, and I want to create one that's in the shadow over here. Okay, so I'm going to go for that purple blue, and here we have a hill that's in the shadow. Okay, now let's create another hill. I'm going to go blue on the back side. I'm going to put one right in here. So I'm going to go blue on the back side. I don't need to get quite as dark because now we're getting towards the front of our painting. So the darker hills are farther away in the clouds, and the closer we get to the front, the lighter we're going to get. So here we have a beautiful kind of medium blue, and that blue is mixing with all the greens, and that's great. And now I'm going to pick up that green again, and I'm going to let it mix with the blues, and we'll bring another hill in here. Lining them up together, whooshing it down. Maybe add a little bit of yellow to that one, but I don't want it to blend in with the one behind it. So I want to keep that line there. Okay, we're going to start attacking the foliage. So don't wash this brush. We're going to come right back to it, but do pause the video and find a smaller round brush. It's kind of like medium small. Okay, I have my brush. It's about this big. What would you call that? I call it a medium small brush. It's not a detail brush. Okay, I want to mix a dark blue again. So either I can use the red, or I could also use a tiny little bit of black. And what we're going to be doing with this, I'll show you up close, is we're going to be going dab, 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 dab to make little tiny trees that are going around the edges. And I'm going to start by going way, way back around the edge of my valley down here. And I'm just going to create some dot, dot, dots. Now this is where I don't want to get mathy. I don't want to get patterned. And it's okay if it's blending in just a little bit. That's actually perfect. This paint should not be dry yet. Just little tiny dabs. If you notice that you're getting mathy, go ahead and break your pattern. Some of it will blend with the paint more than others, and that's a beautiful thing. We can actually like embrace those valleys by adding some foliage around them. You can even add like multiple layers of foliage. Okay, I'm going to start going kind of up this hill. When I'm going up the hill, I'm not actually on the hill, I'm behind the hill. So on the canvas, we're going up the shape of the hill. But in our landscape we're going behind the hill. And then we can add some beautiful dark blue foliage like tucked in here behind the first hill, but it's when the hills start like, because it's where the water accumulates, right? So down in the valleys where the water is accumulating. Let's line these hills, little dab, 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 but only on the bottom portion. So let's go up the bottom portion just a little bit, not getting mathy. There we go. There we go. Just slightly lighter. It's still blue, it's still dark, but it's a little bit lighter. And I'm going to create a little bit larger bushes over here behind that hill. And we're just dabbing these all around. Maybe I'll get a little bit darker as I get closer to the top because we're like behind this other hill. Doesn't make a lot of sense when you're painting it up close, but remember, paintings are meant to be seen far away. I'm gonna go ahead and add some dark foliage because we were trying to make this darker hill and I don't see it as much, so I'm just gonna kind of dab a little bit of foliage at the top of that one. Oh, and the paint is still pretty wet. Sometimes you have to wait. If the paint is still pretty wet, sometimes you have to wait. Let's pick up first brush, which is your green brush. I added a little bit more yellow and white because I know we're getting lighter. And the first thing I want to do is I'm going to kind of like save space for where the little home is going to be. So I'll create, let's start outlining some hills, just your front hills. This is my very, very, very front hill. And I'm going to add, what would you call that shape? It's a house shape, but it's like a rectangle with a top on it. And then I'll bring over the side because that's going to be like my first little house. I think of it as being like a little cabin down below. And then I'm going to put another house right next to it. I think they belong to the same people, but you can choose your own story. And I'll go over. These don't have to be perfect. We're just not going to color them in. We're going to save space, okay? Going for yellow again, let's go ahead and add a hill that goes into that hill. There we go. And hills don't always have to watch. I can have a hill that goes up and then back down again and then back up again, right? That's completely okay, sure. And then let's do another hill over here, coming down, long little one right here. And we might start going into this hill, and that's fine because this is all about layers. This painting is all about layers. Let's create another one right here. Let's create something right there and something right there. So let's go back here. I'm just going to fill in this space with green. Okay, now this is a valley, right? Because it's where they come down. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of blue and I'll just whoosh that in each direction. And we'll add some trees to that later, okay? Okay, now we have this little tiny hill all by itself. So I'm going to add some yellow and some white. And I'll just make a delightful little happy hill right there. Maybe the front of it needs to be a little bit more green, right? Because it's not turning towards the sun, it's turning away from the sun. There we go. Nice. And now I'm going to go ahead and pick up some yellow again. So yellow on top. Maybe even a little bit of white because it seems to be blending with the next hill behind it. There we go. And then it's still light. I'm going to be getting the part that's away from the hill or away from the sun. It's kind of this side, so I'll kind of darken it as it gets towards me. We might add some trees there. I don't know. I'm not sure where we're going to put trees yet. Lighter on the top. I really have embraced the yellow now. Yellow and white. I need enough so that it is differentiated from the hill behind it. And then I'll bring in some of that green. Yellow and white for this beauty right here. Remember we decided we're going to make one that's kind of funny shape. So I went up and then down and then back up again. Ooh, let's make it even higher. Yeah, okay, I'm embracing my butter yellow. Now I'm going to mix in some of that green. There we go. So it gets a little bit darker as it gets towards the bottom. I don't want a distinct line where it starts getting darker. So I'm going to blend that in just a little bit. I know I say don't over blend them. I'm going to add a little bit of dark where the valley might be coming in. Maybe. So light on the top. I'm going to run into that dark color. That's okay. We'll just embrace it. Yellow on the top, white on the top, green towards the bottom. Almost there, friends. So in these valleys too, you don't have to get dark, dark. You can also get blue. So let me show you. I'm going to grab a little bit of blue and I can go into like these valley areas and I'll add some blue. And sometimes these blues are also going to look like shadows, right? Sometimes we'll get these gorgeous shadows from the cloud. Okay, so towards the bottom, adding a little bit of that blue. Okay, we're down to our last 3 hills. And, oh, white, because that hill is right up against that hill. And I want it to be differentiated. I want it to be its own. I'm going to come here. So this is where you have to watch out for those houses. It's not that you can't paint over the houses, but it will make things harder. You will have to do more layers. So I'm going around the houses. Oh look, and I had enough green on my brush. I don't have to go back for green because it was deep in my brush. So there we go. And down here, we'll just get that green in there as well. Okay, let's bring in some beautiful gold here. So lots of yellow. Oh, it looks like my green's mixing in. I need to get some clean yellow, but I'm gonna embrace the fact that I have all this green on here, taking it all the way down. That is a beautiful, happy spring green. I love that. Maybe some white will help lighten that up. This is different than every hill we've done so far. I want you to take some of that blue, some of that darker blue, and we're gonna start the hill with this darker blue because we're gonna create some trees here. We have the homes here. So it is starting in the shade. So that's different than everything else we've done so far. So that blue indicates the shade. And now I'm gonna bring in that light green. I'm using up the last of my yellow on this plate. In the front. So I'm gonna go for just some straight blue. And with that blue, I'm going to decide where, maybe like in here, I can add a little bit of a valley. Think about what's away from the sun there. Maybe going up, that also helps define those 2 spots. Maybe a little bit over here. It should get darker as it gets away from the sun. Okay, I like it. You are now officially done with this brush. So put this brush in the water and go back for your second brush, the one that we used for the dark colors. So imagine this. Right? As they get closer to you, they're going to get a little bit bigger. Notice how tiny these ones are and how big those ones are. So they're going to be a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. Okay, and they don't all have to be in long lines. So we can do clumps of bushes in places. So we're mixing dark greens, dark blues, not as dark as before. Just like how the hills got lighter, those trees are going to get a little bit lighter too as they get closer to us. So that's kind of a nice dark blue. That's kind of in the teal family. So I'm going to go ahead and let's just add some trees right here. So again, we're dabbing, we're flat on the bottom where it meets the hill and just kind of poofy on the top. There we go. And then I'm going to add a little bit of black in front of that. So these are the same bushes. It's just like the shadow that's away from the sun. Nice. Let's go ahead and take that same color. We can bring some down here into this little valley. Be careful that the bushes are all going up towards the sun, not that they're following like the slant of the hills, because trees grow sense. Okay, I'm going to add some more in here. This is quite wet, so they're mixing, and I'm embracing that. That way we have a variety of colors. Yours may or may not be wet, and that's okay. Here. Let's see, maybe a bigger one right here, because remember, we're getting bigger. And then maybe another one next to it. And then maybe some little ones down here. We're getting close to the valley again. Take some green. And I noticed this was still light, but remember how I made this dark because of the shadow? So I'm just gonna add a little bit of darkness where I'm gonna add the trees. So you don't have to add it everywhere, just wherever you're gonna add the trees, add a little bit of dark. With yellow again, so I'm going light, and I add green on my brush, and I'm gonna create, let's say like 4 or 5. I'm just creating the top. See, I'm kind of outlining where those bushes will be. And these are round, right? These are not conifers. These are big, round, poofy things. Big, round, poofy things. There we go. That's enough for me. Now I'm going to mix in a little bit of green. So getting a little bit darker. If you need to remix the green, that's fine. And ooh, that's too blue. Let's get more yellow. So with the green, then I'm going to poof, and I want to make sure like I'm layering it not mathy. Okay, I'm layering it all over the place. There we go. Okay, so already we can see the dimension of these trees, right? Trees, bushes, whatever your foliage is. Now we're gonna go for that same dark as we had before. So you can get the purple blue or black blue, but the darker blue. And then we're gonna do the same thing, kind of mixing towards the front. Just keep layering it up. Okay, so making them 3-dimensional. And I think some of them, not all of them, I'm even gonna bring in some solid black. Let's do it. I'm gonna bring in some black, and that will mix with it. Just for the very bottom, the shadow of a few of these. Nice. There, cool. Okay, let's do that again, kind of over here. Going for some white and some yellows. I'm gonna put in some big bushes here. They're gonna be bigger than over there because we are getting closer. Just go right, oh, let's create one right there. Let's create a really big one that kind of goes behind that house. There we go. So we have the outline, and we'll put a layer in front of those. Don't get mathy, don't just fill it in. Try to keep it random because there's branches going all over the place. There we go. Green, 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 green. Nice, let's get that green a little bit darker, more with the blue. Yeah, look at that green. Whew, so pretty. Keep it random. Let's let some foliage go up here too. This is like a big tree behind this house. And you know what? There will be just a little bit of a shadow where those trees kind of meet. Some green over here. And then what's next? Kind of that darker blue. So let's go ahead. Here's my darker blue. Maybe mixed with purple, who knows? If all your colors are kind of blending together, you can wait. Maybe your canvas is too wet. You can also wipe off your paintbrush. Again, this whole section of it is darker, right? Then I'm going to even bring in some black. Yeah, oh my gosh, I love that. Doesn't make sense up close, but if you take a step back, look at it from far away. So just kind of the undersides of these. So this butter yellow, let's add some bushes, outlining the top, butter yellow. And then right next to here, let's add a tree. It's as big as the house, so it's a tree. There we go. Now we go back to those greens, right? Kind of that light green. Mix it, mix it, mix it. Okay, if you need to pause the video to remix colors at any time, do it. Okay, so just layering that in. And now we'll go for that dark blue. And we'll bring it towards the bottom of that tree. Now the tree is above the ground, right? The tree is above the ground. So I'm gonna round it off down here, and there's like a gap between that and the hill. But these bushes, they are right on the ground. So I'm gonna bring the dark color all the way to the ground. I'm gonna bring in a little bit of black right along the very edges. I'll do some black down here. So what I'd like to do, I'm gonna twist my brush so I can get it pretty pointy, and I'll just bring down like branches and a trunk out of this one. You can also get a smaller paintbrush if that stresses you out. Or just if you want to, right? You're in control, you're the artist. And then there's still foliage down here in the ground, so I'm just gonna add a little bit of black separate from the tree. Okay. We are now onto our last brush. Promise. Get rid of this guy, get a small flat brush. Here we go, small flat brush. Okay. So these are white buildings, but they're just shadowed ever so slightly. And so I'm gonna use kind of like a gray blue, ooh, even a purple, that's pretty, for a shadowed color of white, okay? So whatever it is, it's kind of a earthy color. And I'm gonna bring that onto this side, the farthest side from the sun. And this should be pretty smooth. Yeah, I like that, okay. And I'm gonna use the same color on both of them. So I'll go down here. And then I'm even gonna just kind of shadow it ever more so slightly at the, so I'm gonna dip my brush in black. It's kind of a dry brush technique. There's not much on my brush. And I'm gonna go underneath the roof line, right underneath the roof line. Okay, wipe off your brush and then go for white, white. So it should be still an off-white, but not quite as dark. And I'm gonna just fill in that whole shape. There we go. Fill in that whole shape, both sides. If this tree over here is wet for you, you may have to wait. It's okay to wait, it's not gonna hurt you. You can pause me anytime. Much lighter. And then I also had, on these buildings that we have, I created like some chimneys. So we just wanna come flat. Same thing here. You know what? I want a shed. So let's create an even darker gray, blue. And off the back here, it's really in the shadow. Let's just create a little shed back there. Okay, more blue. I want more blue. Because blue has really been our shadow color today. We've got a lot of blue in the shadows. Excellent. Okay, now let's go ahead and mix a red color This is just kind of like a red that you like. Now it's a tin roof, so the roof is always going to be kind of like in stripes. So we'll start the roof going from the edge, and then we're going to get a little bit lighter as we get towards the top. Let's go ahead and fill it in with red first. So here's my roof line. And I'll create this roof line. There we go. Now mixing in yellow. So first, well, yeah, let's go for light first. So I'm gonna go for some of my yellow. We can even go for some of that beautiful peach we created earlier. Why don't we do that? And I'm gonna go from the top down, just kind of creating stripes that don't go all the way. Okay, it looks like I fit 4 of them in there. Yep, 4 on each one. Don't overthink it, don't overwork it. Now we're gonna go for like that purple. So the red and blue, we have that beautiful dark purple, and we're gonna go from the top up. Ideally lining up with those same stripes. Okay, now I'm gonna take the tiniest bit of black. This is also like a dry brush. So just mixing the tiniest little bit. We're gonna outline those lines going down. There we go. Oops, I accidentally got the top, so I outlined it a little bit. We do wanna outline the bottom with black because that's actually just a shadow. And maybe even, oh no, that'll be in the sun. Okay, and when I can create a door, if you want to create windows, you can. I'm not going to. So while we have black on our brush, we'll just bring it around. Nice. Okay, things I want to touch up. That white is kind of disappearing, so I'm going to take this dry brush with the black on it. I'm just going to kind of outline the edge. I know I said that's not in the sun, or that is in the sun, but I think we just need a little bit of definition. You know what we could do is we could maybe just add like where the line would be at the top of the chimney. And then let's go ahead and I'm going to take the corner of my brush and just kind of create some grass and foliage, like a shadow of grass and foliage around the edge of the house. You could even throw a bush in there if you want. All in black. And I'm gonna let this one kind of go behind this one. So here's your chance to make it look like it's back, is by kind of lining up that foliage like that. There we go. And I'm gonna add a roof over there. All right, wash your last brush. Thank you for painting with me. If you want to have more fun with me, this is what I do. Go ahead, like, subscribe, comment.